Hey everybody, welcome back to the next installment in the Hank the Cowdog series. It's a dog's life. Let's get started with chapter 1, The End of the World. It's me again, Hank the Cowdog. One morning around 10 o'clock, Drover brought me some incredible news. He said the world was coming to an end. I'd gotten in from work around daylight, washed up in the septic tank, hit my gunny sack just as the sun peeked over that big cottonwood tree down by the creek. It had been a slow night, but still, I was bushed. Must have been the accumulation of long nights. This security work begins to wear on a guy after a while. I'd given Drover the night off, so by the time I came dragging in, he was all fresh and ready to go exploring on some foolishness. He asked if I wanted to go with him. No, sir, I certainly don't, and here's the rest of it. I plan to be sound asleep when the mailman comes by. You get your little self up there by the mailbox and give him a good barking. Got that? The smile left his face. All right, Hank, but I sure did want to go exploring. That exploring can keep for another day. I scratched my gunny sack until it was fluffed up just the way I like it, and then I flopped down. What a beautiful feeling. We tend to business first, Drover, and then if there's any time left, we tend to pleasure. Why do I have to keep telling you that? I don't know, Hank. I forget things. I looked at the little runt and shook my head. You forget things. How can you forget that the mailman comes by here every day at the same time? How can you forget that one of our most important jobs is to bark at him? And how can you forget that you're wasting my time and I'm ready to go to sleep? I noticed that he was staring at my ear. What are you staring at? You got 3 fleas crawling on your ear. They were coming out of my bed. Darn gunny sack was getting a little ripe and needed changing. You'd think the cowboys would notice something like that and give me a fresh cake sack every 6 months or so, but they can sell them back to the co-op for a nickel apiece, see, and that sort of puts a price on my services. You never really know how these ranch folks are until there's a nickel involved. Give the head of ranch security a 5-cent bed for 6 months? No siree, not with cattle prices the way they are. That new gunny sack just might take the ranch down into bankruptcy. And there he is, scratching his ear. So if you want to know why my bed was full of fleas, there's your answer. It had nothing to do with my hygiene. I bathe in the sewer every day. I make a sincere effort to keep the sandburrs out of my tail, and I scratch every flea that shows himself. In other words, I'm one of the cleanest dogs I ever met, except Beulah, the collie. And oh, just to mention her name makes my heart start whamming. But how could she love a bird dog when she could have me? What did Plato, the bird dog, have that I didn't? I'll answer that question. Plato was homely, pitiful, incompetent, that Beulah felt sorry for him. That's all I could figure. I mean, in a contest of looks, brains, courage, brute strength, or anything else you want to mention, Plato came in dead last. How did I get started on Beulah? I can't let myself do that. What the heck was I talking about? Oh, right, I remember. I've got it. Fleas. I was discussing fleas, and it doesn't matter how careful you are with your hygiene. If the ranch executives are too tight to give you a clean gunny sack every 6 months or so, you're going to, by George, come up with fleas. And Drover was correct in saying that I did have 3 of the little devils crawling on my left ear. Know what I did? Got my hind leg up and went to kicking them fleas, and fellers, I wouldn't want to be a flea in that situation because my hind legs are powerful and my claws are death. I think you got him, said Drover. I hope they don't go on my bed. Son, when this dog takes after a flea, it needs more than a bed. It needs a cemetery. That goes for larger animals, too. Now I'm going to sleep. Tell me what your assignment is? He twisted his mouth. Mailman, 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 mailman. Bark, bark, he shook his head. Bark at, mailman, bark at the mailman. Very good, Drover. Now keep saying that to yourself and run up to the road. All right, Hank, bark at the mailman. He started off but stopped. Hank, why do we bark at the mailman? I stared at him. Why are you asking? Well, he brings the mail. How come we bark at him? Holy cats, Drover, at your age you're still asking a question like that? If you don't give the answer this time, it wouldn't do me any good for me to tell you. Now go on before I lose my temper. All right, Hank, bark at the mailman. Bark at the mailman. And off he went to the mailbox. I settled into my gunny sack and released my grip on the world. But you know what? I couldn't fall asleep for a long time, and I kept asking myself, why do we bark at the mailman? If you look at it in a certain light, it really doesn't make much sense. But as far back as I can remember, no mailman has ever killed a chicken, robbed a nest, broke into a sack of feed, or done anything worse than deliver the mail. But that right there is one of the primary dangers of having an active, superior type of intelligence. On the other hand, it's necessary for security work. On the other hand, it can come up with foolish questions. Ma used to say that back at the beginning of time, God built 1,000 questions, but only 250 answers. So, there you are. So why do we bark at the mailman? Because, by George, cow dogs have always barked at the mailman, and they always will. And with that out of the way, I went to sleep. Let's find out what happens when Hank wakes up in the second part of Chapter 1.